The following presentation is brought to you by the Realm Network.
The Attitude Era is widely considered by many as the greatest product the WWE has ever had. Now, relive the entire journey with exclusive commentary, insights, and episodic discussion with head writer Vince Russo.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Raw, What It Was Good For. We're going to be looking at April 6, 1998, the week after Stone Cold Steve Austin got arrested. Jeff, how you doing today?
Doing good.
All right, let's talk about Raw, the Attitude Era, please. Go.
Let's do it. April 6th, 1998 from Syracuse, New York, which is pretty close to me. So we have a replay of last week's events with Stone Cold being arrested. And then Michael Cole says that Vince McMahon has promised tonight that we're going to see a new Stone Cold. He's going to be a model WWF corporate champion. So we get to the arena, and Vince McMahon's on the way to the ring, and JR and Michael Cole are just rolling off everything that's coming up on the show tonight. There's so many things. I didn't even jot them all down. The one that I did get was Luna's wrestling a man. And at the time, this is the first WWF intergender match that's the way that it's still listed as that. So unless there was one that happened before this, it's not on record. This was the first intergender match. So I thought that was a big deal in the WWF anyway. So Vince says that having Stone Cold arrested was the toughest decision he ever had to make, and he had second thoughts, and he had Austin released that very night, and that Austin learned his lesson, but he learned it the hard way. And tonight we're going to see a new and improved Stone Cold Steve Austin. He guarantees it, or you'll get your money back.
Hey, Jeff, can I ask you this question? Did you happen to catch the rating at the top of the show?
TV 14.
TV 14, okay.
Yep. As short and sweet as this was, we're setting a tone for the night, and we're expecting something cool. I think this is what opening segments. Even Nitro always did. They did theirs at 9 o'clock instead of 8 o'clock usually to try to compete with Raw, but they still did opening segments in this time that would get people interested to see what's coming next. And I think that's what one of the main things they're doing wrong today. What did last night's opening segment do for the entire show?
Oh my God, what did New Day and Sheamus do opening up last night? I mean, what did that do? Like, oh my God, bro, you know?
You see how. I don't know if you saw this little kid. He was probably 10, 11, flipping the bird right in Vince's face. I got a kick out of that. To me, that's heat, man. You got kids flipping you off. Like you can see every week these boos are getting louder and louder.
Yeah. And bro, here's part of it too, bro, that like people don't understand. You know, the first match is Severn and Funk, and like a lot of people are like, well, what, you know, who wants to see this match? Why are we having this match? Well, I get that, okay, but here's what people have to understand: this is all part of it. Vince McMahon just came out and set the table. Okay, now you're backing that up with what's the word? Reinforcements from the announcers. The announcers have to reinforce this. So between the Vince promo and the reinforcement of the announcers, what you're doing is you're keeping the people there. Severn and Funk are not going to have a long wrestling match. This isn't 2015. The idea of it is this is an MMA guy. He's going to give Funk suplexes. This is going to be over quickly, but in the meantime, the announcers are going to reinforce what Vince McMahon just said. Jeff, the reason why I'm laying this out is because when they told that story in the back yesterday that you were talking about, that Reigns is going to lose his title shot, everybody's going to lose their title shots, right? There was no reinforcement at all by the announcers. They did not make a big deal out of that at all. I guarantee you, bro, if you go back and look, it's probably not even mentioned. So, like, you got to understand here, this is a situation where everybody is a professional. Everybody is on top of their game. Everybody is doing their job. So the reason why you have a Severn and Funk match up top is so JR and Lawler can reinforce what Vince just said. And within the first 10 minutes of this show, you don't want to go anywhere.
I thought it was interesting. Do you remember the relationship, like how that was allowed to have the UFC belt on the show?
I don't, but obviously it wasn't the way it was. Obviously, UFC was nothing at the time. But I don't know how that got worked out.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. But he also had, the wrestling, the NWA championship with him, and he beats Funk with an armbar submission. So before we go to commercial, we see DX backstage goofing off. They say they're on their way to the ring, go to commercial, and come back, and they do an in-ring. And what we had discussed last week is addressed this week. JR says that Shawn Michaels is home. He's recovering from his injuries, and he refused to comment on the new DX. I really liked that was addressed. And this promo was kind of it was like, here we are. This is the official introduction of the new DX. Everybody got to say their piece. Road Dogg, did the ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It wasn't the final words that he always used, but it seems like, this was the kind of the beginning of this in ring anyway. I know he's done it as they walk to the ring, but X-Pac got on the mic, said his thing. While there really wasn't too much of a story here, I think this is established. This is who we are. We're the Army.
Well, the thing that really stood out to me, Jeff, aside from every freaking sexual innuendo in the book I could have thought of, cock lock, ready to load, bazooka. Come on, what am I, freaking 10? But the thing that stood out to me more than anything, bro, was the way Triple H took this over. You see, that really impressed me, bro. It's like, okay, Shawn's gone now. It's me. And you could tell, man, his heart and soul was 1,000% into this. No more second banana. That was very, very strong and very, very impressive to me.
And that's, we talk about people picking up the ball. Somebody, this is, okay, Shawn goes out. Here's the ball, Triple H. And you can you can write the best stories in the world. You can write the best dialogue. But if he doesn't go out there and hit a home run, you know what I mean? He has to perform. And I think, that's another thing we're not seeing today as well. When here's the ball, we mentioned New Day. I feel they did take the ball and do the best they could getting themselves over, because I don't think it was creative having them do all this stuff. So the fact that they're at least trying to get themselves over, I think everybody needs to do that. And I think you've talked about that before, actually. But,
bro, the writing I can't write that Triple H emotion. I can say, say it this way and say it that way, but the raw emotion has to come from him. Bro, I used to tell wrestlers all the time, performers all the time, it's not the words you say, it's how you say them. It's the emotion. That far exceeds what anybody writes for you, bro. The way you say it. And this, you saw the way Triple H said this, the emotion in his face, the sound of his voice, beautiful.
Yeah, you see that again with Mick Foley later. Real quick, like 10-second shot before we go to commercial, Stone Cold's dressing room. It's just a door with the Stone Cold logo on it, just to reinforce what's going to happen with Stone Cold later. Is he going to be a corporate champion? You look at that, how long did it take you to write that? 5 seconds? How long did it take him to film it? 30? You can do so much with so little time involved that I don't see stuff like that today. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But it does a huge thing for the show. Don't forget, this is coming. Don't forget. So we see DX again backstage. They're spray painting. They're bullying a backstage worker. Obviously, this is you'll see later. We're following them around to lead to what they're actually going to do for their angle tonight.
We got to pay homage to JR's line here. of they look like a sophomore class on a field trip. I mean, that popped me. Every time there's a line that pops me, I write it down, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, this was it. Like these kind of antics is what made people start to fall in love with them, because they were, you know, while they were supposed to be heels, they were so freaking funny and entertaining that, you know, the crowd started to love them, and we'll see that where they become the biggest babyface group. Next is Steve Blackman versus Brian Christopher. And Tennessee Lee comes out to join the commentary table. Obviously, we got the storyline going with Blackman and Jarrett. And, you know, they keep putting over that Jarrett is the only blemish on Blackman's record. And then JR, you know, it's little subtle things. JR protects Blackman by saying, well, you got to give Tennessee Lee as much credit for that win as you do Jarrett. So Tennessee Lee makes the announcement, and I remember this, not this announcement, but I remember what he's talking about. That at Unforgiven, he's bringing out Sawyer Brown to play backup for Double J in a concert. Double J is going to sing, and Sawyer Brown's going to play the music. As far as the match, Blackman wins by submission. Tennessee Lee had left, and he comes back down. He has the house lights turned down to introduce Jeff Jarrett. While Blackman's looking up the ramp for Jarrett, we get the sneak in behind from the crowd. So Jarrett comes in and waffles him with a guitar over his head.
Little backstory there, bro. You know who Sawyer Brown is?
I know the group. Yeah, I mean, I've never listened to them, but I know who they are.
Star Search was the American Idol back in the day, and like Sawyer Brown won like the first ever Star Search. So that was their claim to fame. But the reason why I'm bringing it up, bro, is Ron and Don Harris, 8-Ball and Skull, like were boyhood friends with Sawyer Brown, and like worked for them for years and years and years and years. So like, you know, we could get Sawyer Brown anytime we wanted Sawyer Brown. That's why Sawyer Brown is used. But bro, one thing I do got to point out here, the execution was absolutely atrocious. You know, Jeff having to spin Blackman around, and Blackman had to stand there like a lame duck and lower his head for Jeff then to wind up and hit him with the guitar. That was horrible. That's on the performers. Jeff should have said, hey, Blackman being Blackman should have known what was going on. When Jeff says, you know, Blackman, and Blackman turns around, Blackman should be turning around with a punch at the same time the guitar is coming down. That was horrible. I mean, you know, for Jeff, swing him around. Now I got to wind up with this guitar. Yeah. So, I mean, I did not like that part of it, whatsoever. But again, bro, I just want to point out the concerted effort to try to get everybody over, to try to get everybody on the show. You know, you could see that throughout, you know.
Backstage is DX again, and they come across DOA's Titan motorcycles. Triple H dares them to take a leak on the motorcycles, and so X-Pac, Road Dogg, and Billy Gunn, they do. Just I don't know if you saw Chyna's facial reactions during this. Like, I always watch her in the background, just like she's just like, give me a break, you know, these children. Next is, like when you do something like that, and you're gonna do, I mean, I don't know if they really pissed or not. You would know that, but like in that situation where you have to put the logos up, like who decides? Is that like a director thing, or like what we have to blur out, what we don't?
Well, Jeff, was this a tape show?
Yes.
Yeah, if this were a live show, I bet you that would not have happened. But the fact that it was a tape show and it goes into post-production and the TV studio gets their hand on it, and now they start asking some questions that normally wouldn't have been asked. Now they have time to, like, should we edit this or shouldn't we? Well, 99% of the time it's going to get edited. So that's all a TV call. I mean, bro, I'm not going to get upset over something like that. But if it were live, you would have seen it.
Cactus Jack comes out to the ring, and he's wearing a neck brace, and he's carrying a chair. And he says he'll be damned if DX puts him away after, the cage match. He says Terry Funk isn't there. The fact that Terry Funk and Cactus Jack don't miss wrestling events, wrestling matches. So if Terry Funk went home, he must be hurt bad. He talks about when he came into the WWF and he was Mankind. People said, why don't you just be Cactus Jack? Then he talks about wearing the tie-dye, Dude Love, and the same thing. Well, why don't you be Cactus Jack? And then he says, well, he gave him Cactus Jack, and he gave him every bit of energy he had, And when he was laying there helpless, the fans were chanting for Austin. And he's really upset about this, but he says nothing against Austin, but the fans were disrespectful, distasteful, and disgusting. And he gives the fans a chance to apologize to him, which obviously they don't. So he's upset, and he says after 13 years, it's not worth it anymore. It's going to be a long time before you see Cactus Jack in the ring again, and he walks up the apron. Obviously, reading this doesn't do this promo justice. This was 150% emotion. The promo he cut, and I remember watching this live. Just glued into what this guy was saying back at the time, and wondering if he was really, hanging him up. I thought that was interesting though, because for what follows, this is obviously a setup to get the fans to turn on him. I think he's back next week is Dude Love. You know what I mean? I don't know. A lot of emotion in this promo, man. What are your thoughts?
Well, bro, that's the thing. Again, Jeff, we got to put this show to last night's show. That's the best way I can make the comparison, and the best way I can show you what the problem is. Okay? I said this all the time, bro. There are television writers and there are wrestling bookers. Okay, we had a situation here where obviously, we're trying to go into a certain direction with Mick Foley. So what we do is we look at what happened the week before, and we pick out that one little detail about the people chant for Austin. And all of a sudden now I'm sitting there. I don't think Ed's there yet, but I'm saying to myself, okay, let me put myself in Mick Foley, Cactus Jack's shoes. How would he react to that? You see what I'm saying? So now we take that and we use a very real situation where you really don't know to set up where we're going. Okay, just like you said, bro, you're watching, God, is he really going to retire or not? Well, the next week, Dude Love comes back. So that's why we did it, okay? Okay, that's a writer writing the show. Okay, bro? Yesterday, you got a situation with Lana and Rusev. Okay, now this is exactly what's going through Vince McMahon's head. This is exactly how he's thinking. Okay, Lana's ready to come back on the show. So we're going to do this as painless as possible. She's going to come in the ring. The two things they had accomplished, Jeff. Lana's coming back, and we got to cover TMZ. Those are the two things we got to cover. So they do it as painlessly as possible. So it's kind of like by the time this is over, it was like Lana never left. So it was almost like, okay, we have to address this, but we're going to do it as painlessly possible, and we're going to do it Wrestling 101. This is the mind of a booker, bro. Wrestling 101. Opposed to everything we've been reading, all the freaking heat, the fact that this came out on TMZ, Lana killing the freaking ridiculous accent, Rusev saying, you know what, you got nuclear heat with my fiance. Guess what? You got nuclear heat with me. That would have been the equivalent of what Mick did. But rather than that, Wrestling 101, to get Lana back on the show, to cover TMZ, that now everybody's happy. We're right back where we started, when that could have been a freaking incredible promo last night. It was probably as bad as it possibly could be.
Next is the recap of Rock's coup on Farooq with the Nation last week. And then we see a video that was shot by the Nation of them waiting for Farooq to show up at the building in the parking lot earlier in the day, and they assaulted and filmed the whole thing.
And bro, why can't that happen anymore? Why aren't we allowed to leave the arena? It's laziness, bro. It's just freaking laziness. Okay, bro, we probably had to shoot this with these guys either before the show or after the show. So we probably had to put in a little extra work. Okay. You never see anything like this anymore, bro.
So after that video, The Rock has to defend the Intercontinental title against Owen Hart. During the match, the referee throws out the Nation from ringside, and Owen gets the sharpshooter on. Rock can't get to the ropes. Looks like Owen's going to win the title, but Chyna runs in from the back. and hits Owen with a baseball bat to break up the sharpshooter and cause a DQ at the same time. Show a shot of DX, laughing about it up on the stage. And we're about to go to commercial, and JR's "Here comes Vince McMahon," like right when they go to commercial.
Yeah.
Like,
I just love that we just keep stories going. You know what I mean, bro? We just keep it. DX still has heat with Owen. You keep it going. It's not, everything comes to a complete stop at pay-per-views. Like it does today. So I really like that aspect of it. Let me lay out this story, bro, before you get into the next segment. But I think I've told this before, but I remember specifically this show where, Vince in his office told me, like, from here on in, you're 100% with Steve. Nothing else matters. Nobody on this roster matters. You are like 100% assigned to him. That's how important it was. And I can only sit here and wonder if that takes place today. Because I'll tell you, bro, if there were a writer that were assigned to Roman Reigns, you'd probably be seeing a lot better content than what you're seeing, because, me being assigned to Steve, I didn't miss anything. I knew everything he was doing. I knew everything he was saying. I was there. Yeah, we were connected. That don't happen today, bro.
Vince McMahon comes out with 2 police officers, and he introduces the new and improved Stone Cold Steve Austin. So Austin comes out, and he's all dressed up. He's wearing a suit, and when he goes in the ring, he goes to climb up on the turnbuckles like he always does, but Vince waves him off from doing that, so Austin doesn't climb the turnbuckles. Vince tells him that this is the first step in him becoming the greatest WWF champion of all time. And then Vince starts to nitpick his outfit. He's like, we wants to know where the Gucci shoes are that he picked out for him. Austin said they didn't fit, so he wore his wrestling boots. Austin also has, one of his Austin 316 hats on, so Vince takes that off, says it doesn't go with the suit, and he throws it into the crowd. And then Vince asks him what was the moment when Austin accepted reality. And Austin says when he was sitting in the jail cell, he thought, what chance does he have to compete against Vince McMahon? And he said, talking to himself, he said, Steve, if you think you can beat Vince McMahon, give me a hell yeah. But I was in a jail cell, and I said, hell no, you can't beat Vince McMahon. So then Austin pulls a disposable camera out and asks if one of the police officers can take a picture of him and Vince. The officer takes the picture. I love Austin's smile in the picture, just cracked me up. But Austin tells Vince to go take the camera and get the film developed, because it will be the last time that he'll ever see Stone Cold Steve Austin wearing a ridiculous suit. And while he's saying it, he's taking off the tie and he's taking off the shirt, rips off the suit. Vince is furious. You promised. Austin says he doesn't change for nobody. He tells Vince, DTA, don't trust anybody, and I want you to bow down for Stone Cold, and he gives him like a back tap in the nuts. Vince sells it magnificently, keels over, and Austin takes a picture of Vince keeled over holding his balls.
Bro, there is one scene, I'm telling you people, if you're following the show and watching this, even you, Jeff, you got to go back and look at it. When he starts talking about the jail cell and everything, and he says, and I've realized, the power that a Vince McMahon has. When Austin delivers that line, bro, you got to look at Vince McMahon's face. Bro, he looks like the devil. I don't even know how he did it. I don't know if it was lighting. I don't know what it was. But when Austin says that's the line to look for, the power that a Vince McMahon has, you got to look at Vince. I swear to God, bro, he looked like the freaking devil. I
didn't notice that.
Oh, bro, you got to go back and look. I encourage anybody to look, because I don't even know where you would get that facial expression from. I don't.
One thing I think this is interesting, because it's kind of like a 2-part story leading into this pay-per-view. This is the first part where the rivalry between Austin and McMahon is really getting established these past 2 weeks. And then Dude Love is going to come in as the second part, as Vince's choice to beat Austin for the title. So we're already 2 weeks into the road to this next pay-per-view, and we don't know his opponent yet. This had to be the strategy We don't want to get the opponent out here because it's going to take away of creating this Austin and Vince McMahon story. Is that true?
Absolutely, bro. Again, it's story first. When there are writers involved, it's story first, story first, story first. When it's bookers involved, it's what's going to be the best wrestling match. I mean, that's just the way it is, bro. The thing I wonder here, I wonder if that nut shot and that bowed down for. I wonder if that was planned or ad-libbed. I mean, I really do, because I can see like Austin not wanting to tell Vince he was going to do that, knowing Vince was going to sell it like $1 million. If anybody was going to do that, it would be these two guys right here. So like I wonder if man, I'd love to ask Austin that one day. I wonder if they talked about that or he just did it.
Next, when we come back from commercial, DOA charges the ring, and in a real short, quick promo, one of the Scholar 8-Ball challenges DX to a fight tonight because of what they'd taken a leak on their motorcycles. And then we get a recap of Luna challenging Sable for the evening gown match in Unforgiven. I don't remember the DOA talking that much in WWF. I mean, I know they did when they went to WCW. Was that just something that you just, they just wasn't their strength?
Let me say it to get heat on myself all over again. Bro, when you have a Southern accent, it's tough to get over, because, bro, people in New York, people in LA, people in Chicago are going to look at you a certain way. And I bring this up all the time. How many people with Southern accents in the wrestling business were superstars? And the first person they'll say is Stone Cold Steve Austin. No, that wasn't a Southern accent. That was a Texas accent. Huge, huge freaking difference. And then the next person they'll say is Dusty Rhodes. No, that wasn't a redneck accent. That was a Dusty Rhodes accent. Bro, the closest guy, in my opinion, to getting over with a Southern accent, and it was almost because he couldn't help himself because he was so big and imposing, was freaking Sid. Sid had a Southern accent, but he was a freak outside of Sid who had a heavy, thick Southern accent and was a main eventer in the wrestling business. And bro, let me tell you this, Jeff used to want to kill me when I would say that, but the fact of the matter is there was nobody. He couldn't name anybody. Because and again, bro, I'm calling a spade a spade. When you have a Southern redneck hick accent like that, whatever you want to call it, and you're from New York or Chicago or the big cities throughout the United States, you're looked at as a redneck. I'm just sorry that's how you looked at. So that was the reason those guys did not talk much.
We have Luna versus Matt Knowles in the first ever WWF intergender match. Obviously, this Knowles guy was just brought in for this, but interesting, he did have a career after this. He was HC Loke in ECW and Ring of Honor, if anybody remembers him. But Goldust, jumps him before the bell rings to get the advantage for Luna. I got a kick out of this line. Lawler says that Sable isn't popular because he took a poll and not one person wants to see her win the evening gown match.
Right, I got that.
Yeah, that was hilarious. But, Goldust pretty much demolishes this guy and allows Luna to win pretty quickly. She does a diving headbutt off the top turnbuckle to get the win.
Yeah.
Val Venus vignette number 2 next. Again, how long was this? 30 seconds,
Bro, the tiger print on the back wall.
Dude, yes. I saw that was cracking me up. Like, where'd they get this? Where'd they get this from?
Come on. And the second thing that I love, bro, is over the graphic that says Val Venus is coming. I mean, we literally have a porn actress moaning. I mean, literally, bro. Which I don't know, bro. That might have gave it the PG-14 rating. I don't know. But you hear the I mean, classic, bro. Oh my God.
That's my spot. Mark Merrill versus Ken Shamrock.
Yeah.
Yes. Before we get started here, as they're on their way to the ring, JR says that DX accepted DOA's challenge. They're going to have a 6-man match tonight. When Mero gets in the ring, he says Sable got all the attention he was going to give her at WrestleMania 14, so he sends her to the back. During the match, the Nation come out to attack Shamrock, and Shamrock runs out of the ring to grab a chair, runs back into the ring, clears out the Nation, and while he's holding them off at this point, Mark Henry comes in and is able to hit him from behind, which allows the Nation to gain the advantage. D'Lo hits a frog splash on him. Pretty sure Mero is gone at this point. The match was thrown out, and then after D'Lo's frog splash, Rock cuts a promo on Shamrock about the new Nation and the new era, and gives him his I'm going to leave you with this, and gives him the boot. I don't know. That didn't stick around very long. I think I liked it. I'm going to give you this before I leave, and gives him just a little kick.
Bro, what about Lawler's line when Sable's leaving, bro? She passes by like a sign that says "Kiss me, Sable." You know where I'm going with this? And Lawler freaking replies, "Yeah, go ahead, Sable, kiss him." He swears that's only a fever blister on his lip.
Yeah, where does he come up with this stuff, man?
Bro, I would love to know. I would love to sit down with Jerry Lawler and just have a conversation with him prior to wrestling. You know, before he ever got put on a pair of boots, growing up, where he got this freaking sense of humor from. I would love to hear that story, bro, you know?
Jim Ross wrote this week on his website, or last week, he said that Lawler still wants to be like this, but the WWE wants him to be Uncle Jerry, you know, babyface, goody two-shoes announcer. Next is Kevin Kelly's in the ring, and Undertaker comes out for an interview, and they're talking about the Inferno match coming up at Unforgiven. You know, you win by setting your opponent on fire. The ring will be surrounded by fire. And, you know, Undertaker talks about Kane. When he gets set on fire, it's going to be the beginning of his eternal damnation. At this point, Paul Bearer and Kane appear up on the big screen, and they are at the gravesite of Undertaker and Kane's parents, the same one where Undertaker asked for their forgiveness before WrestleMania. Kane destroys the tombstones with a sledgehammer and then sets the whole gravesite on fire. I remember this. Like, this is one of those things, like, it's like, holy crap, this guy just destroyed his parents' gravesite. Like, I mean, how do you come up with something like this? I mean, like, it's just like, how do you do it, man? Because it's such a, like, out there idea. And it's such a, holy crap, I can't believe they did that idea. And you see what this is going to do to The Undertaker's character, the fact that his brother just destroyed his parents' graves, who he obviously loves very much. It's such a great story, and it's so heinous at the same time. Like, dude, I mean, like, do you look back on stuff like this and you're like, man, I came up with such a great idea?
I don't, bro, because I look at stuff like this, and I just look at the lameness of today, and I'm like, why couldn't they do better? Bro, the Bray Wyatt Taker angle, they carry Taker out after the match. That's the angle. So, like, I look at it in a disappointing way. Like, you know, guys, we really thought we wanted to give the best material, you know, we could to these two. That's what I came up with. What's the excuse today? You know what I mean? And, bro, I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, bro, I'm a little disappointed because we didn't have the balls to set a real fire in a real cemetery. That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at, man, this thing looks freaking hokey. I understand we couldn't have went and set a cemetery on fire, but I'm sure, bro, that was suggested.
Well, another thing that I really like about this, and it's like a lot of times today when we get a rematch at the next pay-per-view, it's just like they're going to fight again. Yeah. They do a couple promos back and forth, but we're not even looking at WrestleMania right now. We're adding new depths to this story, and I think that's a big thing. People are going to want to see this Inferno match just as much as, if not more, than they wanted to see them wrestle at WrestleMania. Well, and it's not just kind of like Undertaker Kane 2. It's a whole new deal. Well,
but Jeff, in today's world, we would be hot shotting, with the Inferno match. We'd be hot shotting. No, we're not hot shotting. We just have confidence in ourselves as a writer that you're going to come up with something better after the Inferno match. So you're always putting the best out there you possibly can. If you can't top that every week, then you shouldn't have the job.
Especially the hot shotting things always crack me up. I'm like, okay, so like 2 years consistently doing this is hot-shotting.
Right.
That's hot-shotting. A 2-year deal is hot-shotting.
104 shows and 24 pay-per-views, 128 shows, hot-shotting. Yep.
Yeah, that I just always love that argument. So we go to the main event, and it's a 6-man DOA versus DX. It's the Outlaws and Triple H wrestling. X-Pac goes to commentary. DX gets the win when Triple H pedigrees and pins Chains. So they get steel chairs after the match. X-Pac runs in, and they just start decimating DOA with the steel chairs, and they tie Chains to the top rope, kind of like they tied Terry Funk to the cage last week. So Chains is hanging there by their wrists, and before they can do anything, LOD 2000 runs in for the save, and we have a big schmaz brawl, and we go off the air hot with just this huge brawl.
Yeah, and you still have a cliffhanger because you know that now there's going to be a DX-LOD program. You know what I mean?
With Outlaws winning the belts last week and LOD winning that match at the WrestleMania, that's now your tag match for Unforgiven for the tag team titles is LOD and the New Age Outlaws. This is twice, I think, within the last 5 or 6 shows where we've kind of gone off hot, fighting. We're out of time. We're off the air with the big fights.
Yeah.
I don't see that today. And normally, if there's a big brawl, they let it end. And then it's over. You see them carrying the guy out, and then we go off the air. So.
And what is that, bro? What's the simplest rule of thumb, Jeff, that you've heard probably since you're 3 years old? Always leave them wanting more. So you want to end the show with them wanting to tune in next week. That was before I was even born.
So next week is a big one because it's the show that ends the streak of 80 whatever consecutive weeks of WCW.
Oh, really? So we win the ratings war next week.
Next week is the first time WWF wins in 80-some weeks.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I'm glad you told me that.
And it's not a continuous one either because it bounces back and forth for a while, and then October, WCW took the lead for a while in October. So this is kind of like the summer where it's like everybody's in there back and forth fighting, and a clear winner is going to come out of this.
Yeah, interesting.
But next week is the first one, the April 13th show, where Raw wins the night. And that is because the main event is Austin versus McMahon.
Next week? That's the main event? Wow.
It's where, if I'm spoiling this for anybody who hasn't seen these shows yet, fast forward about 5 seconds, but it's where Austin has his arm tied behind his back because he said he could beat Vince with his arm tied behind his back.
Can you imagine today, bro, how many months they would put that off? You know what I mean? Unbelievable that 3 weeks in and he's going to have Vince in the ring.